The only two things that I typically like to focus on when it comes to shaping the golf ball is ball position and alignment of our body. Those are really the only two things that I'll have players do when they're trying to curve it. So obviously, let's say we have a draw shape, right? Well, what are the two ways in which we can manipulate the path more left to hit a fade to offset the draw? What are the two ways that setup that we can do it? Well, there's either the ball position moving more forward in their stance, right? But when the ball position moves more forward, of course, based on how the arc works, I'm going to swing more left on it the more forward my ball position is. But I'm going to deliver more loft, so it's going to go higher. And I'm going to shallow the attack angle, so I'm not going to hit down on the ball as much. So if I want to create more of a fade, but more of a higher fade, all I would do is honestly move the ball position much more forward than where I'm used to and make the exact same golf swing you're doing. And if you do that enough and the ball position goes forward, it'll get the path left, which will hit you a higher ball with more of a fade. Don't change how you're swinging. Don't try to cover it more. Don't try to swing more left. Just move the ball position a lot more forward, and that'll offset some of the draw right off the bat. Then from there, if I'm trying to hit more of a lower fade, this is where it'll change. I could theoretically aim more left, because if I aim my feet line more left, in theory, I'm going to swing more left on it, but I'm not going to necessarily move the ball position too far forward when I do that. Meaning, I would aim left, but I would actually try to keep the ball position the same. So if the ball position is, let's say, 2/3 of the way forward from my irons, well, I would aim my feet much more left, but I'm not going to change my ball position. The other mistake people make is when they aim left on it, they tend to then also swing down their feet line. This is another problem. In theory, if I'm set up square, and let's say I'm coming down here, well, the more left I aim, the more in front of me this club is going to work. I don't also have to swing down my feet line. So even if you're trying to play a fade and you don't want to necessarily hit it higher, well, you can open up your alignment with your feet, but then swing to the same target. Don't try to force swinging down your body line, because when people do that, that's where they compound the problem and you can create a lot of big double cross pulls, or you just get way too steep on the ball and it's no good. So even if I'm trying to offset some of the draw by aiming my feet more left, I'm still going to swing to the same target. Even if I just do that with the feet open, I will, in theory, create more fade curve anyways. So really, that's where it comes into play. And then obviously, if I want to hit it really low, like a low punch cut, I will have to move the ball position back to keep the loft down. But if I move the ball position back, that's going to make me swing more from the inside. So you have to offset that, and that's where you'll aim really left. So I can exaggerate the crap out of it, where it's like ball position's off my back foot, but feet are aiming way left. I make the exact same golf swing, and now I'm going to hit it really down on the ball. I'm going to launch it really low, but because my feet are aiming really left, I'll create more of a fade curve. And they might just offset each other enough. So you just have to look at the setup like a game, right? The more back in my stance I put the ball, the lower I'm going to launch it, but the more right my path gets. The more I move the ball position forward in my stance, the higher I'm going to launch it, but also the more left my path gets. And then the more I close off my feet, the more draw curve I'm going to add. The more I open up my feet, the more fade curve I'm going to add. And then it's just a game of playing matchups, no differently than the swing. If I move the ball position forward and I aim my feet left, and then I make the same golf swing to the same target, I'm going to have a shit ton of fade curve, but I'm also going to launch it really high. If I move the ball position really back in my stance and I close off my feet a bunch, I'm going to not only launch it really low, I'm going to launch it really low with a shit ton of draw curve. It's going to hook. So if you need to hit a really low hook, ball position back, close off your feet, make the same swing to the same target. If I want to hit a really high fade, ball position way forward, open up my feet, make the same swing to the same target. You're not changing your golf swing itself. You're letting the setup dictate that. And then if you want to launch it really low with fade, ball position has to be back some amount, but you have to be very open with the feet. If you want to launch it really high with the draw, you can move the ball position forward, but then you would have to really close off your feet to try to offset the ball position, right? So just think of the setup like a game, but usually I will manipulate those two areas, and I'll get players to do that. And then if you want to take yardage off, you can hit 3/4 shots to do that. You can grip down on the club a little bit to do that. Tour players do it in a variety of ways. Some of my tour guys like to take 10 yards off by gripping down on the club. Some of my tour guys like to take 10 yards off by feeling more 3/4 to 3/4. It's all relative, right? So that's the way I would approach it. But think of the setup as a game. Once you understand the variables, you can play around with them as much as you want to hit the shots you need, okay?